Perfect. So a very warm welcome to this introductory info session on the Faculty of Engineering Science. By means of these slides, we will try to make you acquainted with our faculty, where we are, what we can offer you, what you will need to apply to our faculty, and so on. So without further ado, we will start. And the first slide is actually the one on engineering in the heart of Europe. And it is engineering science in the heart of Europe. So there's a lot of engineering faculties, well, in Belgium, but also in Europe, obviously. And where we differentiate with the other ones is that we actually link the engineering part with the science part. All of our students that graduate from our faculty, they will have a very broad basis in sciences, and especially in mathematics, which is a very important aspect in the study career at the Faculty of Engineering Science. When we look at our history, our faculty is pretty much 150 years of age. Compared to KU Leuven, we will be having our 600th anniversary in 2025. So obviously we hope to be welcoming a lot of you students also here at the faculty so that you can celebrate with us in 2 years' time. When we look at the rankings, based on the Times Higher Education rankings, when we look at engineering technology, the subject specifically, we're ranked 53rd in the world, and KU Leuven as a whole 42nd. For the QS rankings, this is 76th, and something that we're very proud of here at KU Leuven is the fact that Reuters has named us actually Europe's most innovative university for 4 straight years. That being said, we also like to make a bit of a joke saying that we're Europe's most innovative university from now until the end of time, due to the fact that Reuters is not giving the award anymore in the future. Then where actually are we located? So here you can see the overview of Leuven. So it's a map of Leuven. And in the center of Leuven, you'll have the faculties more related to humanities. In the west of Leuven, there's the University Hospital. And there you have, for example, the Faculty of Medicine. And then us, the Faculty of Engineering Science, together with a lot of other engineering faculties of our group, we're located in the south, which is close to the IMEC Tower. You might have heard about this company, IMEC. And we're actually located in the Arenberg Castle, which you see behind me as a picture of the Arenberg Castle. It's very nearby the center. It might look like this is very far away, but if you know that Leuven, if you go by foot, you can cross the entire city in roughly 35 minutes. So if you go by bike from the Arenberg Castle to the city center, it takes about 10 minutes. When we look at the educational aspect of our faculty in particular, we use the system of bachelors, masters, and so forth. So our bachelor's program lasts 3 years. All of our students, they have a common program for the first part of the bachelor's program, so this is 1.5 years. And afterwards, they have some kind of what we call pre-specialization, where they actually already think about what they want to study during their master's career. So this is 3 years, and usually only a very few students, they enter the labor market after obtaining their bachelor's degree. The majority of them, they do attend master's program, which lasts about 2 years at our faculty. And then afterwards, a lot of them, they do enter the labor market, or they elect to pick an advanced master, which is 1 or 2 years, or a PhD course, which is usually 4 to 5 years. What we do like at KU Leuven is active learning. You can see here 3 very specific examples of this aspect. Flipped classroom. You might not heard of this term before, but what it actually means is that students, they take a lot of time to go through the learning material before the lectures, allowing the contact hours to be used for the deeper assimilation of the subject matter. This might be a bit different from your home institution, but this is how we do it at KU Leuven. And then we also have the peer-assisted learning method, which actually means that the senior students at KU Leuven, they support the newer students in refining their study method and academic skills. And then when we look at the blended learning, this is a lot of aspects involved, which is actually the fact that a lot of students, they can follow courses online, they can follow it in a physical manner, but it's also possible to do it in both ways, so that there's actually an interaction between the online audience and the physical audience in the auditoria. And they do it by means of, for example, a fora or breakout rooms. Project-based learning is also a very important one in our faculty, where we actually develop the knowledge and the skill of all the students. And this is very hands-on. At our faculty, we do like to approach it with a very abstract and methodological manner, but there's also a lot of project-based learning involved. And what we do here is actually that a lot of our professors, they are located in research departments as well, and their latest findings based on their research, they try to integrate it as much as possible in the course curricula of the student. This means that actually all the students at our faculty, they won't be given information that is only 20, 30 years ago relevant. They actually get the really up-to-date information of the last few years based on the very latest findings and results of research topics that are in hands of the professors and the lecturers at our faculty. When we look at our international programs, we start obviously with mentioning where all information is located, and we call it our Bible, pretty much is our program guide. You might have already encountered it when looking at the offer at KU Leuven, and here actually all information is really located. So if you have interest in one of our faculties, and obviously the Faculty of Engineering Science in particular, you can find all the programs that we offer, all the courses that are involved in these programs. You can actually find contact details of the program director within a study program, even a course lecturer for a specific course related question. You can find all the admission requirements and so forth. So if you have not really visited this yet before, we do highly recommend you to do this actually. When we look at our international programs, this is perhaps less relevant for you. As you can see here, the bachelor's program is entirely taught in Dutch. But just to give you an idea that our local students, they do follow this program in Dutch for 3 years and then enter the more master's programs, which are pretty much all taught in English. As you can see here, they do have their Dutch counterpart, but the majority of students, they do elect to have the master's program in English. Here we have like I think a pretty good balance between the more traditional engineering fields, let's say, and the ones more related to more recent societal issues. And in fact, there's one not listed here just yet, which is the Master of Artificial Intelligence. Due to the fact that we're not fully aware yet if this would be taught in English or in Dutch, which is pretty much a legal restriction we have in Belgium. But as soon as we find out if it can be taught in English or in Dutch, we will also provide you with all the information on the web pages. When looking at our advanced master's program, we do have artificial intelligence already set up. And there's also a lot of other options you can follow here. Those are also entirely taught in English. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the advanced masters in human settlements and urbanism, landscape and planning, they also have an info session going on right now at the same time as our info session. But don't be worried. I mean, if you're interested in these programs, they also share their slides and presentation afterwards, so you can have a look at them later on. If you're interested in the Master of Cybersecurity, on the other hand, it will be given on Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Central European Time. And the Master of Conservation of Monuments and Sites, that will be given tomorrow morning at 11 till 12 a.m. Central European Time. So if you're interested in one of these programs, do feel free to also join these info sessions. You might have quite a few questions on the prerequisites. What do I need to be admitted to be welcomed in the faculty? Again, here we have to refer to the program guide with very program-specific questions. All of them are listed on this program guide. What we can offer already at this stage, though, is the language requirements. Do note that if you've seen a few language requirements on KU Leuven website already, the one for the Faculty of Engineering Science is a bit more strict than the one of KU Leuven as a whole. So here you can see a few of those examples regarding the language requirements we have for IELTS, TOEFL, or the Cambridge Assessment English Test. So do take these figures into account rather than the normal ones for the KU Leuven as a whole. We also have the GRE test requirement for some of the master programs. Do check the program guide here, because not all master's programs, they ask for this GRE test, but some of them do. But good to know here is there's no minimum requirement for the GRE scores. So they do request a GRE test result, but it doesn't really matter if you have high or lower scores on this test. When we look at the research facet of our faculty, it might also be interesting for you as well, because if you work on a thesis project, for example, this will also involve a bit of research. And especially if you go further in the studies for a PhD, for example, this obviously is very relevant for you as well. As mentioned before, we're Europe's most innovative university. This is also reflected in this graph, which actually resembles the funding we received within Horizon 2020. Horizon 2020 is actually a program within Erasmus+, but not for education, but rather for research. What we do here is actually that all of the professors, all of the researchers, the lecturers, they do some research and they apply for funding at the European Commission. And this is very highly competitive program. But you see that KU Leuven is well ranked here. Of course, there are some universities of Oxford and Cambridge that still surpass us, but other ones, great universities such as Lausanne, Imperial College, and Technical University of Delft, they're behind us in this statistics, for example. When we look at the different departments that we have linked to our faculty, those are listed over here, being architecture, computer science, and then also civil, electrical, materials, chemical, and mechanical engineering. And these are all professors that teach at our university, at our faculty, but are also linked to one of these research departments where other professors from other faculties are also bundling their experience and expertise to have a very nice research topic, which then, of course, the lecturers can use within the course curricula for the students. And then when you look at the innovation and tech transfer, within the SET group, we call it SET group. So this is the Science, Engineering and Technology group in which the Faculty of Engineering Science is part of. There's a lot of spin-off companies coming from KU Leuven. This is a very high number. And as we see, for example, last academic year, we had roughly 150 spin-off companies created. And roughly 100 of those came from the SET group, so the Science, Engineering and Technology group, which is a very high number. And this is also the result of the more entrepreneurial mindset we give to the students, which I'll touch upon later on in the presentation. Yeah, here you see a few of those companies, those spin-offs from KU Leuven. You might have heard of some of them. Some of them are actually very high level and also world-renowned already. Other ones are still in the project phase. If you look at a few more concrete examples, I'll talk about maybe two of them right here, which is one of them is Reinforced. And they have actually developed a new composite material that combines carbon fibers with thin steel fibers. And this resulted in some kind of material that is super light, but also super impact resistant. So if you look at the Tour de France or the Giro d'Italia on television, there's a very high chance that one of these cyclists is actually using a bike by using this technology developed by Reinforced, one of the spin-off companies. And another one would be Layerwise, also a spin-off company, and they produce the world's first patient-specific total lower jaw implant reconstruction. And yeah, this just resembles the fact that all of the engineering departments we have They have very innovative ways of working. Some have linked to biomedical engineering, some to computer science, some to materials engineering, and so forth. Recently mentioned the fact that we have an entrepreneurial mindset for our students, and this resembles in the fact that we have the KU Leuven KIC program. This is some kind of course or place where actually students can get in touch with fellow professors and researchers who are expert in the field of entrepreneurship. But what also is interesting here, it is actually an elective course. So students can pick this course if they have an idea of maybe combining their engineering background with starting up a new company. As you might know, KU Leuven is a comprehensive university. So these students will actually be in touch with other students from other faculties, for example, from economics, from law, and so forth, to have different kind of perspectives and to be able to maybe see how setting up a company later on could be done. Internationalization, obviously a very important part of our faculty. That's why we're here. And when we look at some statistics, we see that 1 of 5 students at KU Leuven is an international student. And this goes up to 1 out of 4 if you look at the science, engineering, and technology group. And then if you look even more further into detail for the Faculty of Engineering Science, this goes up to almost 4 out of 10 students. This means that actually, if you would enroll here at our faculty, you will not be the only one, and you will be warmly welcomed by a lot of other international students. There's a very tight community for the international students. And we see here also on the graph that, well, each year there are more and more international students coming to our institution, especially as of 2010. So we do try to integrate them as best as possible within our faculty and within our institution. Also a very interesting project we have at KU Leuven. For example, some students, they find it a bit difficult maybe to approach an academic or a staff member with some kind of questions they have. So what we do here is we have the Student Ambassador Program, and these are actually students, current students, international students, that have volunteered to help fellow international students. So if you type in KU Leuven Student Ambassador Network, you can get in touch with any of these students by asking any kind of question. If you, for example, have a question about how it was to arrive at KU Leuven, what kind of challenges there were, how student life is throughout the academic year, any questions on how the exams are going, how you should study, and so forth, you can ask a fellow student, which is obviously a low threshold manner of interacting with the fellow students. For the practical information, we won't go into that too much detail, as mentioned before, because there are similar info sessions on central level. But just to give you an idea, that we have 3 university libraries, the first one being in the center of Leuven, you see on the left. But we also have one on our own campus, the Campus Arenberg Library. And here, yeah, obviously a lot of students go to check out books for their thesis or to actually study, which is a very popular phenomenon in the last 5, 6, 7 years, that students go study in group rather than study alone in their dormitory. If you're into sports, we have a very affordable student sports card for the students. So if you're interested in any kind of sports like fitness, like volleyball, like padel, like dance courses, yoga, you name it, you can have it, you can join them in a very affordable manner. You can also join sport organizations or even participate in some kind of competition. When we look at the infrastructure at Leuven, it's very well developed for cycling. It's not as good for a car, but it's not really needed for a car, since actually the majority of students, they do use their bicycle to come around because the distance isn't very far. So it's very convenient to just go by bike or even by foot to go to the auditoria or to go to a fellow student's dormitory. Just to give you also an idea of the population at Leuven, it's roughly 100,000 students, local people. And then when students come, it's roughly 150,000. So just to give you an idea that it's really a student city. Yeah, leisure obviously is also an important factor as a student. We have a student welcome at the start of the academic year. And also there are a lot of activities organized by VTK. VTK is the student organization of the Faculty of Engineering Science, and they organize a lot of activities at the start of the academic year, but also throughout the academic year. So for example, they have trips to Bruges, to Ghent, to neighboring cities. They had a trip to München for the Oktoberfest a few months ago, and they really tried to mingle the local students with the international students to have some kind of interaction and integration of the international students. So this is a very important factor at our faculty. Obviously, in a few weeks' time, it's also Christmas in Leuven. So our city will be transformed even more to a colorful city. At lots of places, you can have a quick snack or a quick drink. And then last but not least, we have the longest bar of Europe, which means that there's a lot of bars where students can have a quick snack, a drink, have some parties, have some karaoke, and so forth. So it's a very, very good place to be a student. I was there. I was a student about 10, 15 years ago, and I liked it a lot. So yeah, we warmly welcome you to our community, and we hope you will be welcoming you soon at KLeuven. I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, if you can stop the recording maybe, and if there are any questions, we can have a look at those.